to 20 something. Join me again as we figure out adulting life. I am your host, Jenny Arado. This is the first episode of 20 something for August. Welcome. So this morning we are going to talk about a topic that many of you might have heard of once or twice in your adulting life. Maybe now you want to know more about it, you are curious about it. Maybe some of your friends are doing it. So this morning we will talk about building your own startup company. So what exactly is a startup company? So with us today, we are joined by guests that are expert in the field who have done it firsthand. So we have two sets today. This morning we have two sets of guests. For this morning, we are joined by the director of the Innovation and Technology Support Office of the Ateneo de Davao University. So please help me welcome to 20 something engineer Jason Te Occidental. Good morning, Jason. Welcome to 20 something.
Thank you and good morning, everyone. Thank you, Jenny and 20 something for inviting me this morning. So I'm Jason Occidental, as what Jenny has mentioned. I'm the Director for Innovation and Technology Support at Ateneo de Davao University. So that's basically the intellectual property office of the university. But I also work at the Technology Hub, which supports startups in the university, as well as
Mhm.
founded and consulted with some startups in Manila and in Davao.
All right. So thank you very much, Jason. We hope na in the next 30 minutes, people will be enlightened what really is a startup, how to do it, how to build it actually. So without further ado, are you ready for our questions? All right. So first question, ito medyo common siya, no? Because people might have heard about startup companies but don't exactly know what it is. So for the first question, when is a company considered a startup? Okay, so and how does it work? How do you build one, and what does it entail to create a startup company?
So basically, what is a startup? So it's actually quite coincidental as well, since I think all the listeners here are in their 20 somethings or are feeling 20 something. So since we're all addicted to K drama, or a lot of us are addicted to K drama, you might have heard of the K drama called Startup.
Mhm.
Actually, the K drama startup really encompasses or tries to define what really is happening at a real startup. So everything that was presented there is actually fact. No? So that's a very good way to discover what really is a startup. If you have the time, or if you're interested in K drama, you should check that out. But in terms of definition, I want to give you three basic definitions or characteristics of a startup. So it's actually a company. So it's a full-fledged company. It has a new or unique business model. So it's earning money, or it has an opportunity to earn money in the future, because there are some that are still in the phases that are testing, in the prototyping. And then another would be it's technology enabled and scalable. So technology enabled meaning it uses a certain type of technology, may it be ICT based, may it be mechanical, may it be electrical, as long as you use an innovative technology, and it's also scalable. No? So that's also a defining factor for a startup, that is that it's scalable. When you try to implement it here in Davao City, you can try to expand it throughout Mindanao or throughout the Philippines or even throughout the world. No? We have a lot of startups entering our market here in Davao. Also, those are very good examples. So we have ride-hailing services, delivery services, even bed and breakfast services where you can book hotels. So those are very good examples of scalable startups. If it works here, it works in other places. It grows exponentially. So that's actually what sets it apart from an SME or a small and medium enterprise, because we
Mm.
also have those kinds of businesses as well. And lastly, it has a minimum viable product or service. You're trying to offer something. So that's very important. It's either a product or a service. And whatever you're trying to envision or whatever you're trying to solve, it should be solved at the very minimum. So as what we would say no bahalag ginagmay basta ano yun
Kanunay.
kanunay. So,
Oo.
bahala ginagmay basta kanunay. Although it's a small or your solution right now is small, as long as it solves the problem at the very minimum. So that's what it
Mhm.
means when you have a minimum viable product or service.
Okay. So you keep mentioning about this solution, dapat solution-based siya. So it
Mm.
doesn't necessarily mean lang na pag may startup company ka, you just want to earn, you just want to be innovative, but there should be a problem that needs to be solved. Tama, no? So, given that fact or information, ano ba in Davao City or maybe in Davao region, yung mga industry that are most or least given attention to pagdating sa mga existing natin ng mga startup? Meron ba tayong industry na super din yung mga startup na ginagawa or meron ding mga problems na kailangan ng startup but currently wala pa masyado?
Actually, here in the startup community here in Davao City, we've actually organized some competitions for students to solve or to provide solutions
Mm.
to certain problem areas. So a lot of very prominent areas wherein it's because it's backed by the private industry, no? We have a lot of private companies coming from the agricultural industry. So there is this one big plantation in Davao del Norte that's consistently supporting agricultural based startups.
Mm.
And also there's an activity called Startup Weekend. So there has been one time wherein they try to provide or they try to challenge students to develop solutions for the cacao industry. So those
Okay.
are the industry that's given the most attention, as well as ICT based services. Since when we talk about ICT, it's the in terms of resources, it's very low as long as you have very good skill. And a lot of universities here in the Davao offer IT, offer computer science, or even those that are not in those courses or in those majors, they try to learn programming and then they develop their own solution. So
Mhm.
those are the two most give that are given attention. In terms
Bale
of the
para
least,
siyang agriculture and services. Yun yung nakikita natin
hmm,
na marami. Tama
yes,
ba?
yes,
Alright.
yes,
So,
especially the delivery services. It has
yes.
significantly grown. Even the small startups as well as the very big startups in global startups are also entering the market.
Mhm. What about the least? Ano yung may problema but wala pa masyadong startup doing it?
The least, it's I actually can name three. One would be the traffic. I
Mm,
think a lot
mm,
of us, especially here in Davao City, have experienced traffic. Even though it's pandemic, movement is limited, but we still experience traffic. No, I think it's a mix of public policy as well as habits between the Davaoenos. So
mm,
that's one of the biggest challenge. It's not only just yes, we have the technology, we have the idea, but then you're trying to shift paradigms or trying to shift behaviors. No? Another would be in healthcare as well as biotechnology. Those two are also very interesting because it's more resource intensive. You need more than I think billions of investment in order for those solutions to be pushed through.
Okay. So sa mga nakikinig, maybe you want to have a startup company, you're developing an app siguro, but medyo hindi pa kayo sure which industry. So, Sir Jason here has already given you an idea kung anong pwede na may problema talaga sa society or may problema talaga sa community. It's just that we need you guys for the solution. Okay? So with that, you mentioned din kasi yung mga government support, you mentioned yung iba private sector back. So dito naman sa Davao City and Davao Region, are you private kaya kung ano yung mga types of support that yung mga youth na wanted to have a startup company, anong klaseng support yung kanilang makukuha and where can they go government man yan or private?
So let's start first with the academe, no? Since I'm coming from the academe. So
Mhm.
there's actually what we call a technology business incubator. So if you've watched the K-drama startup, that's Sandbox. If napanood niyo yun, it's quite similar to Sandbox, but it's based in a university. But when we talk about a university-based incubator, it doesn't mean we're only catering to those students, no? We've taken even startups that are not alumni, as long as they have the interest in joining the program that we're trying to do, no? So we do startup support. We help them register their business. We try to link them to mentors. So with regards to the university-based incubators, we have both privately supported and publicly supported. No? So because there's a grant for establishing incubators in universities, no? That is from the Department of Science and Technology. So that they have their TBI program and they are currently supporting three universities here in Davao City. No? So that's University of Mindanao, University of Philippines Mindanao, and University of Southeastern Philippines. So those are the three publicly funded technology business incubators, while for those that are privately funded or mixed, private and public, so there's Ateneo de Davao University. So we're actually supported through the Commission on Higher Education. So they have a grant for that to establish a technology business incubator. And there's also private support internally from the university. And we also have the University of Immaculate Conception. So those five universities, they are the institutions where you can approach, or if you're students from that university, you can try to research, you know, look for their offices, try to ask what are their programs, what do they try to offer. So that's for the academe. For the government, there are actually a lot of support systems available because we have the innovative startup law that was passed in the national government. So there's support coming from the Department of Trade and Industry. So if you're a young entrepreneur, so they have the youth entrepreneurship program. So they're already starting to integrate the concept of startup in their YEP or Youth Entrepreneurship Programs in DTI, as well as business registration support, even intellectual property support. If you want to register trademarks, they also do that. The Department of Science and Technology, they're more on supporting research-based solutions. So if you need a significant amount of research to validate your idea, they can do that apart from supporting our technology business incubators. And then we also have the ICT, who is supporting in terms of the ICT industry or ICT-based technology. Since majority of our startups are really, as I mentioned, ICT-based, so they also play a significant role. And lastly, when it comes to the government support, our city government of Davao actually just passed earlier this year the Inventions and Innovations Ordinance. So there would be funding support coming. We're just waiting for the IRRs. So how would they operate? How would they support? But the ordinance has already been passed. No? So special shout out to Councilor Pilar Braga who helped us out. No? So she was very supportive and also very consultative. No? Not only me but also to all my colleagues from the innovations group as well as the inventors. Kinausap niya to ask what are the support systems that is needed, what are the mechanisms that would help, as well as the other government agencies involved. And also coming from the private industries. So this is also actually a good opportunity for the private industries to innovate, no? Because as we all know, malalaking kumpanya, when it comes to introducing new products, new services, mahirap for them because they're very big groups. So what they typically do, so this has actually been happening for quite a while in some startups here in Davao City, is that there's a small team, a small startup, they have this solution and naka-interest ang isang malaking company. So that private company eventually became an investor and not only um, help the startup, but also try to partner. So if may mga products na gustong i-offer, no? There was this good example, no? So they were working with accounting systems, and then this big company approached me and asked, no, may kakilala ka bang nag-offer ng accounting system dito sa Davao na parang tailor fit? So I tried to refer to them, and eventually, um, not only did they become a client of that startup, but they also became an investor.
Mhm.
So that's also a very interesting startup story.
Okay, so it's good to know for people or for your people in their 20s interested to start a startup company. It's good to know na meron para tayong available support from the academe, from the local government, for from government agencies, and even the private sector. So that's good to know, no? For people there na medyo clueless pa sila, but maybe they have programming background, but they want to start up a company. Ano ba yung pwede nilang, maybe kasi mamaya, guest natin yung team from the Hayahay app. Ano ba yung pwede maging structure nila? What do they need to think first? Maybe meron na silang programming background, maybe they have a problem in mind that needs solution. Ano yung next step ba para ano nila, magawa into reality what they have in their head?
Actually, even though you don't have a very significant programming background,
Mhm.
you can actually pursue that startup. No? So there's also one way of doing it is to find a team member that you trust or you have very good
Mhm.
rapport with. No? So when it comes to building a startup, it's not a one person endeavor. No? So you really need to find skilled as well as team members wherein you can easily connect with, or you're in the same wavelength. No? So especially when it comes to providing that solution, because you both should have, or your team should have, a shared vision. Let's say, for example, you want to solve this kind of problem. So dapat you're all on the same page para you know where you're going. Because this is a very risky endeavor, no? The fact that wala pang nakaka-solve ng problem na to, especially if it's a social issue, it becomes very risky. So the potential for failure is very big. So having a good set of team members that can support you, not only in terms of the resources, the technicalities, but also mentally and emotionally. No? So that's a good way of doing it. Find a good team member who's very skilled, especially in programming. Um, or you can also get grant funding. You can get investment and use that investment to um, have someone make that app or make that website, since we all know building a website or building a mobile app is quite expensive. But also, when we think about an ICT based solution, it's also very important to note that it's not always building an app is the one, kumbaga, it hits everything, no? You should also think about if your end users would use it, no? Because we're spending hundreds and thousands of pesos on building websites, building applications, but in the end, kung hindi din gamitin ng sinong target mo na market, it will all be useless. So you also need to think about that. Baka yung kailangan nilang solution is not does not require too much programming background, kaya mong matutunan, because there's also a lot of resources in the internet. Um, it's very easy for you to look at programming classes and try to learn your way in. No? So a lot of I've known a lot of people that have backgrounds that are not IT related, but they eventually tried to build their own startup. No? So I have a colleague, actually CPA siya, and then she eventually tried to learn programming on her own, and then nakapag-set up siya ng IT company. So not an ICT-based startup, an IT company offering software solutions. So that's a very interesting story as well.
Okay, so that boosts the morale of the people interested, no? Kasi the stereotype talaga is when you want to start up a company, dapat um you're very fluent or very versed ka talaga sa mga technology, sa
Mm.
pag-program, and yung mga ganun ng mga technicalities. But with you telling us right now na pwede namang hindi, it can be learned or you can hire a team member that you trust very well. So the number one thing that we're learning here from Sir Jason is that there needs to be a problem that should be solved. Yun talaga yung pinaka number one when you want to start up a company. Okay, so last question na lang po. Maybe you have mentioned this in the previous question, but maybe dagdag na lang. What are the tips that you can give for people in their 20s who have been wanting to have a startup company? Ano yung pinaka-tip mo para sa kanila?
Mm. So again, I'd like to reiterate, no, finding a good team. So it's really important. So if you've watched the startup K-drama, I'm always promoting that K-drama because apart from a lot of us 20 somethings like K-drama, it's a very good learning opportunity for you. Makikita mo how the team dynamics work. I think going back to your previous question as well, di ba, yung CEO, si Sodalmi, wala siyang programming background but she was able to pull off a very competitive startup company. So finding that good team, not only in terms of the technical skills, technical background, but also in terms of yun maasahan nyo, you can a team that you can trust and a team that can support you as well mentally and emotionally. And also the second advice I would give is your ability. You should learn to accept mistakes as well as improve. No, so the first solution that you will come up, parang 95% that won't be the solution that you will end up with when you try
Oh,
to offer
okay.
it in the market. So there's always room for improvement, and you should always learn to accept if there might be problems in your solution or there might be suggestions coming from other people. So learn to accept um, opportunities to improve because a lot of us would always think na perfect na tong solution ko. So that's a really not a really good habit when it comes to starting a startup company because you might end up focus more on your technology rather than providing that value in terms of the solution. Because what we're focused here is solving a problem and delivering value. Because there, uh, because when we try to deliver value, people will try to support your startup.
Mhm.
People will try to pay for your services or your product. So there is that community growth or you're trying to contribute something to the community. And lastly, I think I've also mentioned that focus on the problem more than the technology. So don't be too engrossed with the technology. Yes, I know blockchain. Yes, I know AI. So don't think about that because sometimes you might get derailed from the actual problem you are solving. Because we also have those kinds of instances wherein yes, you are trying to use very high technology, but here in the Philippines, we're not blessed with those kinds of technological resources. If you look at the countryside, wala pa nga tayong proper mobile data sa countryside, di ba? But people are trying to develop mobile apps that use the internet. So there's the gap there. No? You should always try to look at who will be using it trying to solve the problem on what resources we have because I'm pretty sure we Filipinos are very resourceful. No? We should try to look at solving the problem in that perspective. No? Because not all technologies, pag sabihin high technology or advanced technology, it doesn't solve all the problems in the world. Baka the simplest problems or the simplest solutions would solve the most complex problems. So I think that's one of the three pieces of advice that I can give to aspiring startup entrepreneurs.
Okay, thank you, Sir Jason. That's very inspirational, no, knowing na you don't need to be so overwhelmed by everything and not lose your focus lang in solving the problem at hand. So again, Sir Jason, thank you very much for your time. That was short but very meaty naman what you shared with us, especially with the help that the aspiring startup entrepreneurs would get academe, private or public sector. So again, thank you very much for your time. We're sure that our listeners learned a thing or two about starting or building their own startup company. Thank you again, Sir Jason, for your time. So again, we are hoping that with that 30-minute time that you learned something about building your own startup company. Yung startup company here in Davao City, maybe some of you have heard it, maybe some of you have not yet, but it's starting to make noises here in the city because now of the problems that needs to be solved. As Sir Jason mentioned, there are apps, mobile apps on agriculture. There are mobile apps on services, yung mga padala, mga errands. So this morning, we are also joined by a team of young startup people behind Hayahay app. They are very young. Makikita natin mamaya. And they will share with us how they decided to choose a problem and find a solution for that. So we will know more about Hayahay app. With us this morning is people na mga nag-found talaga ng Hayahay. We have Adrian Bernardo, Abby Sethar, and Doniver Hinson. They are the founders behind Hayahay app, a one-stop shop app where the user can easily book their chosen service provider. Yun yung nakalagay sa kanilang About Us page. But we will know more about that. That's very short. They will give us more information. So why don't you introduce yourself? Let's start with Miss Abby.
Hello, I'm Adi. I'm the Chief Operations Officer of Hayahay. So I'm in charge of the business operations and overseeing the day-to-day businesses of the team. And I also handle the research and development operations and process standards compliance. So yeah.
All right. Sir Doniver, what do you do in the company?
Yes, so good morning everyone. I'm Doniver Hinson and I am the Chief Information Officer of the Hayahay team. And also I am the DPO or the Data Protection Officer of the Hayahay team. So I mainly handle the legal compliances of the Hayahay application, and I also help with other tasks since we're all wearing multiple hats here in our startup.
Okay. What about you, Sir Adrian? What do you do with the Hayahay team?
Hello everyone, you can call me AIDS. I'm the CEO of Hayahay. I'm also the acting CFO, basically handling finance of the Hayahay app. And also I also spearhead the HR department of our team. Yeah, so also wearing multiple hats as well.
Okay. So, you might be curious bakit na-invite natin sila lahat. Actually, correct me if I'm wrong. You are 9 people ba in the team? Tama ba? Ilang kayong lahat members behind Hayahay app?
Yes, actually, currently we're already 10.
10. Okay. So, when you
Yes.
decided to develop this, ilan ba kayo originally? Is this like a school project before?
Originally, we were 7 at the beginning when we
Mm-hmm.
started Hayahay back in college pa yun.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So, Hayahay app, as mentioned doon nga sa introduction, and when people visit your Facebook page, it is a one-stop shop. Okay, na mga services that they can book their services, whatever their needs, ganon. So, to give us more information about Hayahay app, okay na ba tayo with the first question? Do you want us to move forward, or do you have something else to share? Okay na? All right.
Yes, yes.
So, first question, kasi you mentioned, Sir Doniver, this started way back in college pa. So, I would imagine, kaka-graduate nyo lang ba? If you don't mind, how old are you? Because you started this in college. So, maybe hindi naman ganun katagal na since your college graduation, right? Sir Doniver, can you answer that? How old are you if you guys don't mind?
Yeah, so I'm already 24,
Mhm.
and I believe similar lang yung mga age namin lahat dito sa Hayahay
Yeah.
team.
Okay. So, that's why I ask because we want to parang give inspiration to people. The age is not parang a hindrance to start your own company, to gather your like-minded friends and say, let's start a startup company, let's build a startup company. Like, sabi nga ni Sir Jason, just, get trusted mo na mga team members and maybe you're good to go. So our first question regarding Hayahay app talaga is how exactly did you come up with this concept? How did you decide na okay, Hayahay app yung gagawin natin? What's the story behind this?
All right. So we were introduced earlier as a one-stop shop application where users can easily book high-quality services on demand. So basically, it's like Food Panda, but instead of restaurants, you get to browse different service providers. So based on what Sir Jason said earlier, that the delivery service field is booming. Currently, we're focusing on parcel delivery services by partnering with local businesses such as Rider Dash Delivery and Amigo Movers Delivery. So by the end of the year, we're planning to cater more services such as home cleaning, food delivery, and laundry shops. So we've conducted our beta test last May 27 to June 27, where we've gathered insights from our partners and testers. Mostly all of our testers are small business owners who were finding delivery services they could partner with. So bale, we are answering the pain points of the people na if they want to find a service, parang ang hirap pa, you have to browse on Facebook, you have to ask mutual friends na ito close, ito na store, what else can you offer? So we're offering a one-stop shop application na they could also see all the services that they would need and would be needing in the future. So as of now, we're back on the development stage and planning on which features needed changing or what improvements can we add in the application based on the feedback that we got. Parang after all, the application is for the customers naman rin. So Hayahay's goal is to provide convenience to Filipinos through a digitalized platform that connects them to the best service providers. So for short, our vision is to make every Filipino Hayahay. This is why we chose the name. Not only it is catchy, but it also explains our vision in one word, to make every Filipino comfortable while they book and wait for their chosen services. So yeah, that's how we came up with the name rather, Hayahay.
Okay, Hayahay. So, Hayahay is a very, parang inside joke siya, no, sa mga Bisaya na Hayahay.
Yeah.
So, with that, ano ba yung coverage ng service nyo? Is it in Davao City lang? Within downtown area? Ano yung nare-reach ng Hayahay app?
Alright, so currently, ang Hayahay app is available for all Davaoenos, and if all goes well, we're planning to scale up to different cities here in Mindanao.
Okay. So right now, you said you have partners, no? People can correct me if I'm wrong. For example, if I wanted nga on my laundry, if I want my laundry done today, I can just book an appointment siguro and Hayahay app na yung bahala. Parang ganon. Tama ba?
Yes,
Is that how it
yes.
works? Okay. So how do you do that? You partner with merchants, you partner with laundry shops, you partner with riders. Ganon yung system ninyo.
Yes po. Currently, we're focused on parcel delivery, but we are discussing with possible partners na sa home cleaning, food delivery, and the laundry shops as well.
All right. So, last question na lang, no? Last follow-up question from that. When
Sure, sure.
exactly did you launch this Hayahay app? And how is it doing so far?
Okay, so parang background story naman, we are incubated by Upgrades TBI. I think Sir Jason discussed this earlier. So we graduated last May 27, and we also released the beta test for the application as well. So that range for about a month, and currently we're now focused on addressing the feedback that our testers have given us, and most probably our goal for the updated feature will be by the end of the year. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Another question that I have, because you mentioned that your COO, your CIO, your CEO, di ba iba-iba yung mga positions nyo. You briefly
Yes.
introduced yourself kanina, and ano yung mga functions and contributions niyo sa company. So right now we want to dive in deeper. Ano ba yung ginagawa niyo talaga, each one of you? And now as Adrian mentioned kanina, he also manages the parang HR department ninyo, di ba? So how does it work really? How do you distribute the um, the tasks at hand? Kasi I would imagine it's still a small company kasi nga you're wearing
Yeah.
multiple hats sa ngayon. So how do you distribute, and how does one of you function ba sa grupo?
All right. So for our team naman, no, since I already said earlier that we are 10 in total sa team namin. So that's made up of 7 original members, and then we onboarded 3 core members. And actually, recently we also onboarded 4 interns in our team. So we have more manpower than ever. And yes, so the way that we distribute or give tasks to everyone is we are not confined by our own roles, since since I mentioned earlier that we are wearing many hats in the startup. So we try to be flexible enough for everyone to help each other. So for example, when Adrian needs help with the finances, so we gather together, we do meetings regularly, and we can talk about it. So Adrian won't have to do it alone, and we can brainstorm on different ideas, and we can give different inputs for that particular matter. And it includes also in other areas that others that have concerns, like for example on marketing or in legal concerns. So we all talk about that, and that's how we divide the tasks in our team.
Okay, so it's beautiful to know that even if you have designated tasks and designated positions, you still find time to be flexible. Because I would imagine that pagdating ng, for example, a challenge maybe or a problem in the company, hindi siya something that maybe Abby lang or si Doniver or si Adrian
Mhm.
na nakakaalam. But if you're rounded enough or you're flexible enough, you would be on top of the company. I would imagine that's how it works for you guys. Maybe it's still there will be still challenges. No, that's what I would want to know next. What were the challenges that you've encountered, maybe while developing it, or yung na-develop nyo na siya, and how did you overcome those challenges?
I guess it would be best if each of us would answer. Ito nga input sa nga. Yeah, so
Sige.
for me naman, it's mostly about working remotely. Our team is scattered kasi we have members who are based in Davao, Manila, and Cebu. So back in college, parang when we need to discuss about important things, we just meet up at someone else's place. Now, given that we have our own careers plus the pandemic, the struggle is finding a common time to meet virtually. And lalo na that we are building a startup, kailangan always nag-meet, discuss ideas, and catch up on our progress. So what we did is we really work on our communication. First is we scheduled our meetings for daily updates. The development team naman, on the other hand, they have coding sessions on Sundays. So second, we make sure that we assess our team from time to time. So given a certain timeline, we talk about what went wrong, what went well, and what to improve. And it really works. All the ideas and the hard conversations that we have to go through, it just strengthens the trust and morale of the team.
That's good to know.
Yes.
Yes, Deniver. What
Yes, so I
about
agree with
you?
Abby, no, and I can also say that we were also challenged when in terms of knowledge and experience when we started building this company of ours. So I believe that building a company or building a startup, it's already hard in itself, and that's just the beginning. So after starting a company, we also need to maintain and to make sure that it grows. So I believe that no matter what degree you graduated from, so for example, most of us here in our team graduated from computer science, uh, from the computer science course. So we are not really knowledge when it comes to in other roles, like for example financing or the legals or the marketing, since we have similar bachelor degrees, and so that's why we compensated by learning as much as we could and helping each other learn as well. So yes, we took the challenge of learning everything, and we were fortunate enough to be part of Upgrades Cohort One. So because of them, we had access to various training sessions and webinars about startups and businesses, and that played a crucial role in feeding us with the right knowledge and providing us the right mentors for us to be able to run our company now.
Yeah, lastly, no, I want to add, being consistent and persistent in the startup journey, especially here in the Philippines, is very challenging. Others will say that startups are really exciting and cool. Maybe nakita nila sa K-drama series no na wow, ganyan pala yung startup, sobrang ganda, sobrang I want to be involved right now. But I mean, in reality, no, building and pursuing a startup business will challenge you emotionally and physically. You have to juggle multiple tasks and wear many hats, meaning performing different roles maski yung mga uncomfortable or boboringan ka pa minsan. So you also need to endure government requirements and processes. I
Mhm.
mean, you know naman all the bureaucracies of government, diba? So yeah, if you need to really comply with them legally. I mean, if you plan to comply with them legally. So yun, despite all of this, no, we are blessed to have a team that supports everyone in times of highs and lows. We survived and will continue to pursue our dreams because we know that our teammates will go all out with us and will be with us even if things will be harder and more challenging. So,
Okay. So that's a good point that you raised, Sir Adrian, no? Parang giving a reality check. Maybe people will say na, yun nga, having a startup company is really cool. Having a startup company at a young age is very parang independent masyado yung feeling. You're earning your own money. I'm sorry. You're earning your own money. You're having this liberty, this freedom to be innovative with your friends and your colleagues. But reality check, as you said, meron tayong mga requirements na that we need to comply, the legal matters, the government requirements. So maybe that's what we also need to think about. Are you ready for the boring parts of the task or the boring parts of establishing a company? Kasi what you mentioned earlier are the cool parts, 'di ba? Meron kaming partnership with riders, we have partnership with other clients, etc., etc. But they have to also understand na we also do boring tasks, as you mentioned, 'di ba? Yung parang hindi related talaga sa inyong interest as computer science graduates, like maybe finance or the marketing side, the social media marketing side. So thank you for bringing that up, no? So another question that I would like to raise or I'm very curious about this because marami na tayong mga startup companies that we've heard in the past few years na hindi talaga nag-flourish ng ganon. Maybe because of the low demand, maybe because of mas maraming competitor. So for the part of Hayahay app, how do you intend to make it more sustainable? How do you intend to make it long lasting, kumbaga?
let me start answering that by sharing siguro how a startup is defined by Eric Rice. author of the Lean Startup book. It's really a good book. You should read it. Um, so, startup is defined as a human institution designed to deliver a new product or service under conditions of extreme uncertainty. So, by understanding this definition, you can see that in order to sustainably grow as a startup, you must constantly innovate and fastly adapt to changes. So, bali, sa startup na environment dito to yung parang one big hit, you continuously pivot and
Mm-mm.
innovate sa product mo based on the responses from your target market. And so in order to do that, no, our team plans to put into heart and action for core strategies. So for first, um, we plan to do our product development using the Lean Startup Framework. So in today's startup environment, doing comprehensive planning and market study before development will not work or will not be sufficient anymore because of the fast pace or fast changing of different kinds of factors. So, entrepreneurs must learn the concept of doing MVP, minimum viable product. MVP is a version of the product with enough workable features. So, the goal is just to test out and gain feedbacks and comments and validate its usefulness to the target market rapidly. Second, um, we plan to invest more in marketing tools and targeted campaigns. So maybe meron kang sobrang gandang na-develop and sobrang useful talaga, but unless you introduce it properly to the right market at the right time, you will not have sustainable business. Up until now, there are still gaps between consumers and the products or services they want to consume, especially here in the Philippines. So another point that is competitions can be really, should I say, hard or really heavy in the Philippines. I mean, it's not only the Philippines kasi when you go in the net or the cloud, it really opens to a lot of competitions. Thus, proper positioning and awareness to your target market are very important. And third, we plan to invest more also in manpower, talent acquisitions and training. So we believe now that startups and large companies will not achieve success by having a great vision alone. So you need to have that growth workforce who are fast, skilled, and open-minded to changes and adjustments. And lastly, we are also commit. We will also commit to constantly learn and analyze the consumers or their psychology. Human behavior and psychology are really dynamic. One event can change the entire life activities of every person. So, like for example, COVID. As you can see, I mean, it's really sad to see this, but mall stores really suffer for significant daily loss of profit because people now prefer online shopping through different apps, like the two most famous shopping apps that you know. And if you want to have a successful startup, you must accept the fact that you should continuously learn and adapt to the market and also the developments of technology that is available.
Okay, thank you for that, Adrian. That's very substantial, no? And very important din masyado na we understand what we're getting into. And we're impressed that sa ganitong lagay ng Hayahay app, you are thinking way ahead and you have long-term plans to make it more sustainable. So, is there anything else that you want to add? Either of you would like to add something, maybe something that we haven't discussed about Hayahay app. Maybe you want to promote Hayahay app.
Yeah, so as what I've said earlier, we're currently in the development stage, but we have some exciting pivots and some exciting new features with Hayahay app that we've gathered from the feedbacks that we've got. So stay tuned for our release by the end of the year. Most probably it would be in November or December. We would be just posting it on our Facebook page, Hayahay, and our website, hayahay.co. So yeah, I guess that's it.
Okay. Okay, so we will be looking forward to that, especially na ngayong panahon, people are more into the advocacy of supporting local. So why not
Yeah.
support something that is locally made by our young startup entrepreneurs? So we are
Mhm.
grateful for the time that you've given us, Adrian, Abby, and Doniver. Thank you very much. We are hopeful that the people watching this, especially those in their 20s, are inspired to finally start that startup company that they have in their head. Okay, so again, thank you very much for your time. We are grateful for the knowledge and the time that you shared with 20 something.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you, 20
much,
something.
Jenny.
Thank
Bye.
you and good morning, everyone.
So, to all our viewers, we hope you learned a thing or two about starting your own startup company. So, yun nga, as Sir Jason mentioned, there's a K-drama about that. You might want to watch it. And for those who have watched it, I'm sure you are very familiar with what we are talking about right now. So if you have comments, suggestions, or topics about people in their 20s, about adulting that you want to be featured in our show, please do not hesitate to email us at ssdavao@gmail.com. Until next week for another episode of 20 something, this has been your host, Jenny Arado. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the day.